Okay, chapter 11. We're going to do chapter 11 and 12 together. So I'll basically go ahead and let you know before we get started on 11 that 12 is just an overview of every chapter, kind of summarizing it from stage to stage. So it's just going to be something really good that you can look at for your project to go through and see if you have all the components. Um, and 11 is really just focusing on leadership. And so we're going to go over some quick tips and characteristics of a good leader. Um, And so it starts off with you just asking yourself some questions. So you can just take a minute and mentally define what is your definition of leadership? What does that look like to you? Who do you think about in your head? Like, who's the person that you think of when you think of a leader? And the way the book has talked about leadership, it defines it as a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. And so when you think about that, how does someone influence other people? How do you get people on board with you? And it talks about those can be verbally, non-verbally, um, but how do you get people to become a follower of you? What is your ability to persuade, to motivate, to uh, get people to want to join you, to get them inspired? It talks about that a follower describes those the leader is attempting to influence. Okay. Followers describes those the leader is attempting to influence. So people that are following you, you're trying to get them on board with you, right? So sometimes that person may agree to disagree. Sometimes they have to believe in you. They need to be collaborative. They need to be able to think for themselves. You want them to be competent and motivated. These are the best followers because they're always going to help you assess your plan and see pitfalls that you may or may not see. If you're a good leader, you don't want a yes man. You want someone that's going to help you stay a good leader. Um, and some leaders also have shared leadership where they have a team of people that collaboratively um, work toward a common goal. A lot of leaders are very charismatic. They have the ability to talk and get you to willing to come on board with them, willing to take a chance. Let's do it. Um, being honest, forthcoming, competent, inspiring. And if you've not seen this before, I had not seen this until I found this in the book. Um, do what you say you will do. That's what the DYSYWD stands for. Do what you say you'll do. Follow through. Be honest. Be a person of your word. Um, there's a lot of different theories. There's visionary leadership, vision. Um, the one that I recognized the most in here was servant leadership. I feel like that when I was a clinical supervisor many years ago in a community mental health agency, I felt like my role there was how can I help you do your job better? And that is the essence of servant leadership. 10 characteristics is the ability to listen, empathize, um, help people with their emotional pains, being self aware, not make the same mistakes over again, being a steward, and helping people grow and build a community. Guidelines for managing diversity. I think a lot of that is modeling and mentoring and just how one acts. Like when you're a supervisor, people notice how you act, what you say, how you react. And so letting people know that one, diversity is a positive thing. We want to promote it. We want to show value of it. We want to show the importance of it. We want to discourage any kind of negativity, stereotype language, bias beliefs. We want to challenge people who make prejudiced comments or remarks. We want to speak out and be advocates for people. We want to stop harassment. And this comes down to core values of being just open and honest and being accountable and charitable and having the type of personality where you don't have to preach or feel like you have to constantly correct people. Your behavior in and of itself will model your expectations. Principles of ethical leadership, being respectful to people, treating people like you'd want to be treated, being ethical, um, being just, making and understand uh, what fairness really means. I think we've said honest like 10 times already. Obviously, honest is a very big category here. And help people remember that we are all here for the same achievement goal. Like we are all here for the same common reason. Why does it not work? There's a lot of reasons. I'm going to tell you the ones that the book says. It's allowing for too much complacency. People can get negative. People feed off of negativity. I call people like that energy vampires. They just will suck you dry. And when you have to work with somebody that's extremely negative, it just makes life horrible at work. And so not dealing with those type of things, not allowing people to feel like they're in power of the growth that's getting ready to happen, not understanding the vision, and or even blocking change. All these things can be very negative and cause things to fail. We have to always be prepared for change because our lives change, our environment changes, the world changes, and we have to be able to do changes in a way that doesn't abandon anything specifically, but it becomes more efficient, becomes a better way. Um, the agency in which you work or run or develop has its mission statement. It, in 5 years or 10 years, depending on where that location is, it would be irrational to think that that would never have to be revamped or structured differently. I mean, if you think about like the changes that COVID itself brought to the mental health agencies of we were never allowed to bill therapy, one-on-one individual therapy before, and a lot of services before COVID. So things happen and things change, and then the electronic medical records, that made a lot of changes from the paper charts. So there's always going to be changes, and that doesn't necessarily mean a negative thing. It's just sometimes we just get really frustrated of having to learn something different or do something a different way. So being willing to do that change for the structure is a big part of our job, whether you think about it or not. It talks about 7 steps for organizational change. The first step is, where are we right now? This is where we need to be. We need to get on this right now. You don't want it to sound like, oh, in a couple of years we're going to start doing this. Then there's no urgency to get people like, okay, we got to start knowing this. Why is it so important? For example, clinicians can now bill Medicare. That's something that's just come out in the last year. So if you were talking about learning Medicare billing and what services and the pieces of that, that's not something you want to put off. You want to be ready when you were able to start doing that service. What kind of resistance are you getting back? Whatever plan you're putting out there, what kind of resistance are you getting back from people? And what is that resistance for? And what's it about? And how can you work on dealing with that? And then develop a good plan of action. Implement it. And as always, 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 we have to evaluate it. We have to see how things are going. What changes need to be made? How do we keep making it better? And like I said, this was a very short chapter. Chapter 11 and then 12, we don't have a lecture on or a PowerPoint. It is absolutely just a review. If you go through there and look at it, it kind of summarizes everything that we've talked about in the previous chapters.